What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Good Game Sportscast. I'm joined today with Robert. You can actually see him this time. You saw a little bit of him in the last video, but since the audio was the only thing that was working, we did not get to feature him and Bryce. But I think I've got it sorted out today, so hopefully we can just kind of cruise through this smooth sailing. Still new to learning everything on this system. So yeah, bear with us as we experiment with it. But yeah, everybody, welcome Robert to the podcast.
Howdy.
Got a warm welcome, Robert.
I did.
All right, so this is about the fourth time we've tried to record something on Riverside, and hopefully this will be the first time it actually works to what it's supposed to. But today was a very important day for the NFL season, and not so much for like the projected starters and, even the backups, but for more of the guys who were undrafted coming out of college or guys that kind of fight to make roster spots. So in years past, the NFL has done a cut sequence based on the preseason games. So game 1, you'd have to be down to 92. Game 2, you'd have to be down to like 70. Game 3, something else. And then by the end of the preseason, you had to be down to your 53-man roster. Well, this year they didn't do that. This year they were like, okay, y'all do whatever you want over here, and then as soon as the August 29th deadline hits, bam, 53 at 4 o'clock Eastern. And so there was a lot of hectic kind of trades dropping, stuff going around the NFL today. Did you notice anything that caught your eye?
Well, I mean, first we got to talk about, at least in my eyes, since I'm, from the Dallas area, Trey Lance's signing with the Cowboys. I would also, Will Greer's fantastic performance before he got cut. Well, who else? Let's see. The Patriots having Mac Jones only in their quarterback room right now.
As their only quarterback. Dude, they had Tom Brady for how many years and would like shuffle quarterbacks 2 to 3 behind him. And now they've got Mac Jones, who is like mid Jones. And now they decide it's time to go with one quarterback on their roster.
And it happened to be Mac Jones.
I know. Bill Belichick is up to something. I think he might be trying to just get himself fired or something, dog. There ain't no way in his right mind he's only taking Mac Jones. Because then after that, it's your kicker.
Yeah.
And they don't even have him anymore. They traded him.
They traded him to us. Yeah, Vizcano was a Cowboy.
Are you a Titans fan?
No. Vizcano?
They traded the kicker to the Titans.
All right, well, I guess I'm proven wrong. But Vizcano was supposed to come in for Maher when he had his playoff performance that we should not talk about. But
oh yeah, missed extra point after missed extra point.
He did make one during.
He did. He made one during the divisional, I think.
That was a fun game.
That was a good game. There will always be that highlight of Ezekiel Elliott's last play as a Dallas Cowboy being taken at center. And he got whopped by whoever the defensive lineman was there. But that reminded me, and I'm going to go off on a tangent about this one for a little bit. But that reminded me of when the Indianapolis Colts ran out there with, what was it, just not Pat McAfee, but he was on the team at the time. They ran out there with like a running back under center and like 7 people on one side, 4 on the other, or 3 on the other, and then 2 people in the center, and went back for like negative yards. Remember that play? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's what the Zeke play at center reminded me of.
That's what I was thinking of too. I wonder if they actually got inspiration from it. That's really made me curious about doing all sorts of research onto different plays and everything. Did they actually just go, what if we make the most stupid play possible?
Listen, old show Phineas and Ferb. Dr. Doofenshmirtz one time was talking about situations that happened to him. And he said, if I had a nickel for every time this happened to me, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that it happened more than once. That's exactly the way I feel about that. And that's more than one play from last season.
Yeah.
So you have the Zeke lining up as center, getting bulldozed, and the play going nowhere. At least they got the throw off. So, I mean, that one was a little bit better than the Colts. Yeah. And then last season, we also had the Jimmy Garoppolo doing an Orlovsky.
Yeah.
He stepped out of the back of the end zone against the Broncos and then actually threw a pick six on the play. Luckily for him, it didn't count because he got a safety. So I mean,
And
there have
that's
been in the last year there were so many weird plays
honestly, it's
that
like
fit that mold and that description. I couldn't believe it.
not me neither. I mean, it's funny looking back at it, but like I was watching the divisional game live, and it's like this is a good game. Oh, they're doing that now. Oh, they didn't even make a first
Oh
down.
my goodness.
Great.
I remember
Um,
watching that too. I was kind of rooting for the Cowboys because I mean I'm a Seahawks fan, so rooting against the Niners is kind of something we just do.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean that was quite the moment. But yeah, bringing this back, including the 49ers still, um,
yeah.
can we say that like the trade to acquire the pick they used for Trey Lance might be one of the biggest all-time fleecings of all time? Or I said that twice, but one of the biggest fleeces of all time by a general manager.
I can say that.
Or would you say that, or was it just a mistake?
I
Because
would.
there were a lot of good players they could have taken at that pick. So I'm not sure the draft pick was fleeced as much as the as just bad drafting.
I would say it's more or less kind of like one of those like Madden trades. You kind of pop up Madden, and you kind of like I want this star player for like a fourth round pick, and it kind of goes through.
Oh no! I'm talking about the original one, like when the Niners
Oh,
traded for Miami to get Trey Lance.
oh yeah, no, I'd say that's a fleece because
That's like
like
Miami owned them. They also
yeah,
Miami's general manager also owned the Laramie Tunsil trade too with the Texans.
that's true. Yeah,
So I don't know if they still have the same general manager now. I'm not really well versed on Dolphins. That's what one of my co-hosts Preston is for. But darn, like thinking back on it now, the Dolphins stay fleecing people, man. That's
they have.
incredible.
I mean,
But yeah, looking at the whole Trey Lance situation, man, that just sucks. He played like 3 games for the Niners in 3 years.
got benched.
Tore, I think his ankle, like messed up his ankle while playing against us either last year or the year before last. It was not a good look
He was what, second
for
or
Trey
third
Lance.
overall?
He was third overall.
Okay,
Who was drafted ahead of him? I can't remember.
it
I
was
can't even remember
Lawrence.
what
I know
draft he
first.
was in.
It was
Was it
21.
Lawrence? Zach?
Yeah,
Was it Lawrence Wilson and then Trey Lance?
I believe so. Yeah,
Zach Wilson for the Jets.
yeah. Zach Wilson was second
Wow.
overall. Can you believe it?
Ooh, that is a rough quarterback. I mean, good for T-Law, but that's a rough quarterback class.
That was. I mean, my guy Mond was like he was. I think one of the more underrated picks, but at the same time, he
He just
really
got
hasn't.
cut.
He just
Yeah, I'm
he
about
got
to say,
cut.
he's. I'm pretty sure he did. I
He
don't
got
think
cut.
Kellen Mond. I don't think Kellen Mond's on an active roster this year.
I think he'll be on a practice squad. He got
Yeah.
he got cut and then got re-signed. So
One of the players I was rooting for is Holton Ahlers. He played quarterback at ECU, and I'm not an ECU fan by any means, but it's always cool to see like the local team get a player on your team.
yeah,
But he ended up finishing his QB3, and he's probably going to be signed to our practice squad.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think. Good.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was thinking like one of the. I was looking at. We need A&M does not do very well at producing quarterbacks. We had Kyler Murray that transferred. We had Kyle Allen that transferred. There's like Kyle Allen's like a career backup. You'd think.
Okay. You preface that with Kyler Murray. I, honest to God, think that Kyler Murray is a top 3 most overrated player in the entire NFL.
Agreed.
He has no business getting the praise that he gets from some people about the stuff that they'll say. Like, they'll say that he's a top 15, 20. I mean, I wouldn't even put him in the top 20.
No, me neither.
He doesn't watch, and he had a clause in his contract that he had to go watch film to make money. He's 5'10". When he scrambles, or maybe shorter, he looks like a little toddler running around.
Like Deuce Vaughn.
He's been injured. Seems not to be in too big of a hurry to get back on the field, which I honestly think is more of the Cardinals front office this year trying to tank. Like,
Yeah.
I think next year, this is getting off topic of preseason, but I think next year Kyler Murray does not have a starting job in Arizona.
Me neither.
Or
no.
at the very most, he's going to be in a 2-way competition with Caleb Williams, if
Well,
Williams declares for the draft.
I think the Cardinals have, believe, have the top two picks next year, don't they? Because they got one from the
They have
Texans.
they have their own, and then they have the Texans pick, which the
Okay.
Texans pick probably won't be the Texans pick will probably be a pretty good one too. I don't see them getting out of the top five.
I think it'll be Marvin Harrison Jr. be number two, and Williams would be number one. Williams is undoubtedly
See,
number one pick.
well, that's if he decides to go. I mean, Caleb Williams is only a junior this year,
That's true.
and so he could wait it out. Which I guess he's kind of want. I guess he'll kind of wait and see what the situation looks like coming closer to draft time. Because if the Arizona Cardinals are still as big of a dumpster fire, and this is assuming that the Cardinals are the worst team in the NFL, which all signs seem to be leading to at the moment.
Yeah.
Assuming that the Cardinals are still the worst team in the league, I definitely think that Caleb Williams might consider staying at USC for a fourth year. And it also depends on how USC does. I mean, if they finish inside the top four, make it to the college football playoffs, and then maybe like not win a championship, I could see him coming back. There's no reason he wouldn't.
I mean, he's got that fourth year of eligibility, so yeah, fourth year. Yeah, it'll be fourth year. So
Yeah. So,
uh,
circling all the way back to the Trey Lance thing, do you think Dak Prescott's leash for quarterback this year is short, or at least shorter, now that they have Trey Lance on the team?
I think so. I mean, I'm
You
not
think?
the biggest Dak fan, but
So
neither am
you
I.
think that like Jerry Jones and McCarthy will be like, hey, we have somebody now who needs a chance to start to prove his worth. Don't screw up. Is that kind of the mentality in the Dallas Cowboys universe right now?
I'd say so. I mean, this has the same level, at least to me, of like if they signed OBJ, which I don't think that was going to happen regardless. But like the whole Trey Lance stuff, I personally think that Dak should feel a little pressured by this. Pressured to not throw as
Do you
many
think
picks. Good. Yeah.
do you think this will help him? Like, do you think this is a good thing for the camp of Dak Prescott for this year?
I think that'll help him because it'll push him to be better. If not, they have some guy named Trey Lance waiting in the wings in case they need him to take over, or God forbid Cooper Rush. But
That's right. They do have Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush was a good quarterback last year. I mean, I don't think he lost, or if he did, it was maybe one game.
it was the
Cooper
Eagles.
Rush played
They
pretty good
lost
though.
against. He did.
Yeah, they did lose to the Eagles, but I mean, so did pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my favorite, and this is like completely biased from the team I root for, but I really want to talk about the emergence of quite possibly one of the best names in the NFL right now. Wide receiver Jake Bobo.
Like wasn't he undrafted?
He was undrafted. He played 4 years at Duke, played 1 year at UCLA, and then signed on. And actually, I believe, if I read the depth chart correctly, is wide receiver 4 in Seattle this year, which is about 3 or 4 spots higher than he was expected to be on.
It's not bad, honestly.
I
Really
know.
isn't.
He looks good too. So, a little bit of history here because I'm a team nut. Arguably, I would say like a top 3 Seahawks receiver of all time. You've probably heard of him. His name is Doug Baldwin.
Yeah.
He used to make a whole lot of plays. Doug Baldwin was also an undrafted free agent.
Really.
And commentators and announcers love to bring that up. Like you heard it every single time he made a play. Like, hey, that dude was undrafted. Yeah, we know. But yeah, it kind of gives me some of the routes that he would run and some of the ways he would get open. Kind of reminded me of some like old vintage Doug Baldwin plays. Which if that's what we're getting out of our UDFA, that is amazing.
That is.
I mean, that's wide receiver 1 material coming out of an undrafted free agent. Now, I'm not saying Jake Bobo is going to be Doug Baldwin part 2, but I can see some similarities and some tendencies. The only thing that I see different is Baldwin was faster, but he was also smaller. Bobo is built, I think, similarly to DK Metcalf, if not taller, and maybe a bit leaner. And he also, the big stat on him was his 40 at the combine was like 4.99. Which is
Really?
like, I don't want to say pedestrian, but that's
It's kind of middle of the pack.
for
Yeah.
for a receiver. That is slow.
Yeah. It is.
We're approaching Brady territory with that one.
Like, what do you
Um,
think of
so
JSN?
yeah, seeing Jake Bobo on the field, ball out in preseason, and then make the team, and he's got like his whole social media following now, like
Is-
more Bobo, let's go. That's been really fun. You said JSN.
Yeah, JSN.
I saw today that the Seahawks had him out there practicing.
Really?
He broke his wrist 2 weeks ago against
Like, why?
Dallas.
Like, why are you
So
having?
either like he had a cast on. He was out there practicing with the first team with a cast on. I mean, first team. It's the only team left, but
Yeah.
yeah, with a cast. Like that is
Well,
insane.
like I was saying,
His
probably the. Yeah.
dedication to the game is absolutely unreal if you're willing to go that far.
And like he went to high school like 30 minutes down the road from me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's kind of like a home. I wish the Cowboys picked him up, but at the same time, he's like, I'm glad he's, hopefully he balls out.
I
I'm glad he
think
got
so.
drafted. Yeah,
The only problem, I mean, I feel like JSN definitely could have thrived better on other teams
could have.
because the wide receiver depth in Seattle this year, especially with the emergence of Jake Bobo in preseason, is now like probably I would say wide receiver twos deep. If this is again assuming Jake Bobo actually ends up panning out and being like a good contributor, you've got, I would say, a definite wide receiver one. Two
Yeah.
wide receiver could be ones in Tyler Lockett, and I will put JSN in the could be. And then you've got a probably wide receiver 2 to 3 in Jake Bobo. But then again, you've got Lockett as your probable number 2 receiver.
Jason
JSN is
might
at
be
3. He's 3. I don't see anyone surpassing DK on that depth chart simply because of the raw stats that he's put up the last couple of years and the kind of the
Yeah.
freakish athleticism.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm going back to like, but I'm gonna use like a Cowboys analogy, or I'll find like an analogy, but it's like back in the day when you had Dez and then you had Cole Beasley. I don't know if you remember Cole
Mm-hmm.
Beasley, but yeah,
Yeah, I
he's
remember
on.
Cole Beasley.
Is he still in the NFL, or I thought you retired?
I think he did, but it wasn't too long ago. I remember he had a short stint with the Bills and then tried to come back, and some other stuff happened. I think politics got in the way.
Uh, that
Making
usually
moves and
happens.
things.
Yeah.
All right, so this year, I'm gonna switch gears up a little bit here. This year, different from last year, we actually have rookie quarterbacks who will be starting Week 1. We have 3 of
Yes.
them.
Yes. 2 out of the 3 are from
So-
the SEC.
What are your expectations?
I think Bryce Young will be as solid as you can be with the first overall pick. I'm not saying, I say he'll have the Panthers maybe 9-8.
Oh wow.
I'm being kind of optimistic with them because I've seen Bryce Young perform in person when he went to Cal Field.
Okay.
And then
Was that
Anthony
the game
Rick-
y'all beat them?
yeah, that was the game when we beat him. Like, go figure. The one game I seen him
Yeah.
in person, we beat him. But
The one game you've seen Bryce Young is the game that you beat him.
I'm
Anyways,
just
continue.
saying. Maybe I break the curse. I don't know. So, and CJ Stroud, the Texans have an old-ish wide receiver core, like a very veteran wide receiver core. Maybe let's say 5-11, maybe.
Okay. I feel like that's in the right wheelhouse.
Because he got pretty
Honestly,
good defense.
I might go 4-12 with them.
I can see that,
I honestly think they will be the second worst team in the league this year.
Just because of their, I'd say youth and a lot of the people they have are getting to be there.
So
Again,
the kind of detriment with the Houston Texans at this point is they have veterans, but they don't have veteran leadership.
No.
So the older guys that the Texans have are not accustomed to winning anything, whether they've been on the roster, have been shipped in from other teams, and then they've got a bunch of young talent that hasn't played too much in the NFL. I mean, they had 2 of the top 3 picks this year. They got Stroud and Will Anderson. I feel like they both make decent impacts, but that roster is way too flawed to be any better than, I would say, 6-11 at the very best.
I see that. Yeah, it's what I saw in the Georgia game again, Georgia and Ohio State, Georgia's I think could beat the Atlanta Falcons. They're that good defense wise.
Oh, that's a whole nother debate. We want to get into that one.
I mean, it's up to you. You know, I haven't seen Georgia in person. I want Georgia to come to Kyle Field so damn bad, but um, I think Georgia has enough NFL talent to actually like either compete with the Falcons or beat them.
I so in my mind, and well, I'm going to switch up gears here a little bit, which I tend to do a lot, but
Yeah.
we have time for it. Um, Looking back on this has always been a debate. Like the Browns in 2017 went 0-16.
Yeah,
And this was when that debate really picked up. It was, can the Alabama Crimson Tide beat the Cleveland Browns? And the way you kind of have to look at it is, not everyone on that Alabama roster, and simply put, and like similarly put, not everyone on that Georgia roster is going to make the NFL.
that's true.
I do think that the worst NFL team and the best college team playing would go 9 out of 10 for the worst NFL team.
Just because it has experience, I would say experience, but
The one exception I would say to that rule in recent memory would be the 2019 LSU Tigers.
that's fair because that team was
I think
astonishingly good.
that LSU team was built. I mean, everybody uses the phrase "built different" nowadays, but that team was built different.
It was.
And
Hands
so
down.
if we're looking at team, I mean, the Georgia team's been dominant. The not Ohio State. They've never been dominant.
No.
The Alabama teams were dominant. Some of those Clemson teams were really good. I don't think. I easily think out of all the teams in the last 10 years, which is what I'm going to use as my sample size, that 2019 LSU team was just way different.
I mean, you got Jefferson, who's I think one of the best receivers in this generation. Come
Yeah.
at least, and you got
Two of them. You've got Chase too.
Yeah, they got Chase, and like I see people on Twitter that say, "What if they're on the same team?" It's like they were on the same
They
team.
were.
What 4
With
years
Joe
ago,
Burrow.
5 years ago? Yeah.
They had, I mean, before Clyde Edwards-Helaire kept getting hurt for Kansas City, he was balling out.
He
They
was.
had like Addison at their I think it was Addison. Somebody else, another receiver. What's the receiver for the Terrace? Is it Terrace Marshall?
Yeah, Terrace Marshall. Marshall. Yeah.
That's, you know who their tight end was?
Steven Sullivan. Wait, for who? Panthers or LSU?
No, for LSU.
Steven Sullivan.
No, but there, I guess maybe the tight end too was Thaddeus Moss, son of Randy Moss.
Oh,
Was their backup tight end.
That was their backup tight end.
Or maybe it was their starter, maybe it was their backup. I don't know, but still, that
It's-
team was so juiced. Their backup offensive linemen got drafted in the first and second round of the draft. Let that sink in.
Really?
Now, their defense was good, but they weren't as good. They weren't as historically dominant as that offense was.
No. It's like,
Looking
yeah,
into
it's
it.
Joe. One of my go-to guys, I guess, in fantasy, or if I actually played fantasy, it would probably be Joe Burrow. I mean,
No.
I mean,
I love Joe Burrow as much as the next guy, but he is not the greatest fantasy quarterback.
I mean,
Simply put, he doesn't run.
That's true. He's more of a pocket passer.
Mhm.
But he's a great quarterback. No, hands down, Joe Burrow, I think, is up there. I think Burrow beats Mahomes. I mean, he's beat him literally like 2 out of 3 times.
He has. Actually, Burrow has a winning record against Mahomes right now. But I mean, in terms of who's better, quarterback versus quarterback, it's obviously Mahomes.
It is. No, hands down. Mahomes is probably
And
is.
in
Brady.
the last 2 years, Joe Burrow's had the better receiving core as well. So
With Chase.
you can't use that as an excuse. The Bengals might be the deepest team at wide receiver. I would honestly say, I mean, personal bias, I'm throwing my Seahawks in there. But the 3 best wide receiver groups in the NFL are the Dolphins, Bengals, and Seahawks.
I can see that, yeah.
I don't know what order to put them in. I'm pretty inclined to put Bengals at 1 because they have 3 proven receivers that could all be receiver 1s on different teams.
Yeah.
Miami's 2 deep, and their 2 players, I'd probably put Miami at 2 and then Seattle at 3. But you never know. I mean, if JSM pans out and then Bobo plays well, and DK and Tyler both get 1,000 yards, I don't see what's stopping them from being the best receiving core in the league.
No. And I see, like, back in, like, was it 2013 when y'all were really dominant?
Dude, our receiver room stunk.
I'm just saying, like...
Well, actually, I can't say that because Jermaine Kearse is probably the most clutch player in franchise history, as Richard Sherman put it on his podcast. If y'all haven't seen that, go check it out. He sat down with the training camp rookies at Seattle. And then you had, Doug Baldwin, who we've already discussed this episode, legend.
Yeah.
But then after those two, there really isn't much depth in that receiving core. I mean, Golden Tate was all right. He's better known now for being an analyst, but
I mean, it's, you know,
that receiving, people forget that team had no business being as good as it did, and they only scored 43 points in the Super Bowl against the Broncos because, one, they were always on the field, and two, their defense scored once or twice. Actually, no. The defense scored a safety, a touchdown, and we got a kick return touchdown in the second half.
Yeah, no, that defense was, I think, rivals either rivals the 85 Bears or the 2000s Bears or the 2000s Ravens with Ed Reed.
Okay, yeah. So here's my take on that as an honest Seahawks fan. The 85 Bears defense was better.
Okay.
But no defense in NFL history was more exciting and fun to watch than the LOB Seahawks.
No, I have to agree with you.
Unless you were a 49ers fan or a Broncos fan, there was no better defense to watch play than the 20, I would say 11 to 15 Seahawks.
Because they had what, like Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was on that defense. Who else? I'm blanking on the other guy.
Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Byron Maxwell, Jeremy Lane. Did I say Earl Thomas?
Yeah, you said Earl Thomas.
Sherm. Let's see. Who else did you have in there? That was really that was the basis of the, and then I guess Jamal Shed.
Yeah.
Or not Jamal, Deshaun Shed. Whoops. I don't know what I was, mind blanked there for a second. But yeah, that secondary, and then you had a three-headed monster, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, and Tony McDaniel on the defensive line, and a good young linebacking core with Malcolm Smith, Bobby Wagner, and KJ Wright. That defense was probably one of the most complete defenses of all time.
I can see that. No, I mean, it's, I still, I wasn't alive to watch the 85 Bears, and I think I was just born. Yeah, no, I know you weren't either.
No,
I was. I think the 2000, either 2000 or 2001, where the Ravens squad had Ed Reed and.
Mm-hmm. I still wasn't born yet.
Yeah, I still wasn't either. Yeah, I was born into. I was born in 04. So
04?
probably. Yeah, 04.
Darn, that makes me feel old.
I make some people. I watched some of today's youth on like Twitter and everything, and I was like, oh my god, y'all are missing out.
I know.
It's like I barely remember when Aaron Rodgers won his only Super Bowl in Green Bay.
I don't remember watching that one. The first Super Bowl I remember talking about was the second Giants-Patriots Super Bowl. And the first Super Bowl I remember watching was the Ravens and Niners.
Huh. Oh, no. I remember watching that one. Yeah, because when the lights went out at halftime.
The lights went out at halftime in the Superdome. And then after the lights went out, the Niners just clicked and then came up short in the end.
And then, part of me as, Cowboys fan, Niners are one of our rivals. Well, I think,
I can't stand them.
I can't either.
I honestly, I think the Niners this year are one of the more overrated teams in the league. Everybody's picking, because nobody wants to pick the Eagles again to go to the Super Bowl because, it's not cool to pick the same team twice in a row, or it's not cool to have the same team go twice.
No.
But honestly, what do they see in the 49ers that's so dominant? Their defense is all right. I mean, I'll give it to them.
I mean, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Their offense is all right. You got a second-year quarterback who can't scramble.
No, you got a second-year quarterback.
Sophomore slumps. Really, no. I would say no dominant wide receiver one. They
No,
can't tell if Debo Samuel's a running back or a receiver.
no.
Like
I see.
they're
I see. Yeah, literally nothing with him.
so overrated.
It is. No, like, I think the reason why the Cowboys went out there because yeah, Niners lost the defensive coordinator to Houston, who in my opinion I think is going to rejuvenate Houston. Not to a winning standard, but
Hmm.
rejuvenate them enough to actually get
Yeah,
them to actually play,
help build the foundation for the Texans.
which is good. You gotta need that in a coach. But I don't. I think everyone looks at Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and who's the other guy? I think those are the only two stars on that
There's
defense.
Tolan Hufunga.
Some
I
Hawaiian name.
totally, absolutely butchered the mess out of it. Troy Polamalu Jr.
There you
is
go.
what they claim. That's what they claim him to be. He's got the hair for it. I mean,
He's got the
we'll
same
let the guy
name.
dream. We'll let the guy dream his dream. At least Polamalu was easy to say. I don't even know. I don't know how to say this guy's name.
I think they both went to USC too.
Really?
I
Now,
think so.
That would be interesting.
That would be. I would say that ironic. I mean, USC, to my opinion, is known for NFL busts. I'm just saying. So
Yeah, I could see that. Not a lo- I mean, there are some USC players who pan out, but then there have also been historic busts from USC. So
like Smith Schuster, who's the guy on the Chiefs last year? Juju
yeah,
Smith
he
Schuster.
was. Now he's on the Patriots.
I just.
Could you imagine
I
him and
don't.
Bill Belichick doing TikToks?
Oh my god. Oh my god. God. Weird old dude doing. It reminds me of the Brian Kelly. I'm big into for people who don't know. I'm
Oh my
big
god,
into
I know
college
what you're about to
football.
say too.
The Brian Kelly TikToks where he danced and everyone made fun of him for it. I was one of the ones who made fun of him. Oh my
Dude, okay, one
god.
of my favorite things about the whole Brian Kelly situation was when he went from Notre Dame to LSU and then put on like the most fake Southern accent I've
Oh
ever
my
heard in my life. It was
god.
so bad.
It was a family. It's like, oh my god. Do you not know how? He's probably from like the Northwest or something, or the
Dude,
Northeast. And he's like, it's like, do you not know anything about life down here?
it was so rough.
Oh my god. It's just I laughed at him, and then he went and won the West in year one. So I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of proved it on the field, and then we absolutely beat the brakes off of him at Kyle Field last year. So
All right. So, ending kind of thoughts here. Do you have a definite team that won the preseason?
I would say the Jags.
The Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jags. Jaguars.
Okay, what makes why do you say that?
I would. After going off of record, I would say they were 3-0 in the preseason. But then again, I'm kind of a casual when it comes to NFL football. They have a stout receiving core in Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, and who else?
World's most responsible money handler.
No, honestly, it's like Jameson. No, I think Jameson Williams talked too much with him and rubbed him. It got his gambling habits rubbed off on Jameson Williams and half the Lions squad apparently. Zay Jones, that's the other guy out of Eastern Carolina.
Zay Jones, yep.
Zay Jones, I think is probably.
I remember watching him play in college.
I watched.
Good.
I know Christian Kirk's good. He's a fellow Aggie. Christian
He's
Kirk's.
on my fantasy team.
I put him on any sort of Madden team I can get. He and Evans I think are like top 15 wide receivers in the NFL.
They've got Evan Ingram too.
Oh yeah, that's right. They got Evan Ingram.
I think you're right with that. I think the Jags more so needed to look at defense than offense because I think as long as T-Law stays about the same or gets better, they'll be in a good spot. I think in terms of the overall preseason winner, I would go, and this pains me to say because this is, for my money, the most boring team in the NFL. But I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I can see that.
Pickett to Pickens has been good. Their line looks better. They just look better than last year. Last year's Steelers team looked terrible.
We went 9-8, right?
They've got a gauntlet of a division. So I don't expect them to finish too well. I think they're just about on par with the Ravens, and I think the Bengals are about 2 steps better than both of them.
No, hands out. I mean, they went from Super Bowl appearance to AFC Championship appearance. I think they're low enough to go to the actual Super Bowl again if they want to. You know, if they don't push
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes out of bounds another time. But I mean,
So yeah, I think we're in for an interesting season. I will say this is the most I've ever paid attention to preseason and roster cuts and all that stuff.
yeah,
There weren't too many players that were big on rosters in years past and then got cut. Like it's a couple older veterans that played like one or two really good years, but not too many big surprises. I
no.
think in the coming days, a lot of kickers are going to start moving, is what it seems like,
I mean,
and
kickers, you
we're
kind of.
going to in the next couple of days we're going to see what the practice squads for teams look like.
I can see it.
So
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of where we're at with the NFL right now. This was a good little episode talking
It
about
was.
the past, present, and future.
It was.
I enjoyed
Brought
having you
back
on,
some.
Robert.
Yeah, no
Definitely
problem.
gotta
Always happy to be on.
definitely gotta do this again.
We do. We
All
got
right,
to talk college football
I'm
next.
talking. I'm talking to you like this. You're not gonna be one of my one of the full time staff on this podcast now.
I
You're
know.
totally going to be. You know your stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We
Yeah.
need someone to offset Bryce's geography knowledge.
And his NFL knowledge too.
Yeah.
And
All right, guys. We appreciate you rocking with us today. Please click the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button on the video. It helps support us. Leave a comment down below letting us know how wonderful, how awful you think our takes were. Would 2019 LSU beat the 2017 Cleveland Browns? Let us know down below. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Click here to see another video that YouTube thinks you should watch, and click here to subscribe to our channel.